Greetings, friends. I'm AK.
And I'm Laura.
And we are
The Chainsaw Girls. On today's episode, this is an AK recommendation. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I've never seen this movie.
I think a lot of people have not.
I don't think even the Blade saw it.
Yeah, and I get very excited when people tell me they haven't because I'm looking for that reaction after you see it.
Okay, should I tell everybody what we're covering today?
Yes.
We are covering 1995's Vampire in Brooklyn.
I probably should have started this by asking, who do you consider in your top 5 vampires in movies, and why is Eddie Murphy not on that list?
No, that's a great question. I'm embarrassed to say he wasn't on my list, but he is surely on my list now.
You don't have to be embarrassed because I don't know that a lot of people hold his accent in particular in high regard, but we'll get to that.
I didn't mind it.
I didn't mind it either. This is a childhood favorite of mine. I don't remember the first time I saw it, but I know I was very young. And for some reason, there are definitely scary scenes in this movie, but it didn't scare me as much as I think it should have because I was afraid of everything as a kid.
Yeah.
I will tell you, at the time of this recording, it is available to stream for free with ads on Pluto TV.
Oh, I think that actually might have been where I watched it.
Probably. I think that's the only place I found it for free.
Yeah.
And would you like to read the IMDb description?
I would. Okay, here we go. A Caribbean vampire seduces a Brooklyn police officer who has no idea that she is half vampire.
That Brooklyn police officer is none other than the queen, Angela Bassett.
She is incredible.
I am obsessed with her. I love her in American Horror Story.
I was just going to say she is a goddess.
She really is. This movie was written by Eddie Murphy and Charlie Murphy.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say directed by the incredible Wes motherfucking Craven.
Yes, I did not realize that until I just rewatched it recently. That is not something I picked up as a kid.
No, I had no idea. When we started, I went, Eddie Murphy and Wes Craven?
That's wild.
Yeah.
And I believe Charlie Murphy had said that this was supposed to be more serious of a movie, but Wes Craven brought a different perspective to the set.
Yes.
And I love it. I love it for what it is. It is considered a horror comedy. It definitely gets silly at points. Definitely has scary scenes, especially toward the end.
Yeah.
I think.
No, I agree. And actually, Eddie Murphy was a fan of some of Wes Craven's work, including People Under the Stairs, which, by the way, fantastic movie.
I never saw it.
Weirdly obsessed with it as a child.
I never saw it.
Oh, we should cover it. It's
Yeah.
really good, yeah. And he also really was a fan of The Serpent and the Rainbow and The Last House on the Left.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's really cool. It must have been awesome to be a fan of a director and then to actually get to work with them. And not only just work with them, but be very hands-on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's very, very cool.
It's really cool. So the Caribbean vampire part, I don't know that they ever say what island that they're from. They might at some point, but I don't recall that exactly.
Yeah.
The accent that Eddie Murphy has in this movie is a little questionable. I can't really pinpoint it. Maybe it's Jamaican. I know it's not Dominican.
I was wondering if it was Jamaican as well.
Maybe. I think a lot of people question what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm not good with accents in general. Like to me, anybody with an accent, I couldn't tell you, like if you're from the UK or you're from Australia or you're from, like I honestly can't really tell. I know that's terrible. However, I can pick out Canadian accent.
There you go.
That's the one thing I can do. Do you want to hear the budget and how much it grossed?
Sure do.
All right. It's a $14 million budget. So it's like a pretty high budget.
Yeah.
And it raked in $35 million, which apparently at the time it didn't do so well, which to me, $35 million sounds good.
Yeah.
It's like double the budget, but it now obviously has a pretty big cult following.
Yes. I wonder, so is that just the budget? That's overall, right? So like including now. So maybe it did better after the theatrical release or something?
Oh, maybe. I didn't check to see how much they grossed over like the first weekend or anything like that. It came out October 27th, 1995. And I'm trying to think, like, I know Jerry Maguire came out in 1995. I always like to look up and see what movies came out because it helps me to understand like where we were, I was going to say as a society, but like kind of what the landscape looked like at the time.
Yeah.
And the only movie that I can think of that came out in 1995 is Jerry Maguire.
I could not tell you. Off the top of my head, I could not tell you. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But October 27th is a great release date. Like a vampire movie coming out right at Halloween.
Yeah.
Love it.
This movie has an all-star cast. We already named a couple people. And a lot of the actors say this was their favorite movie that they worked on.
I know. That made me so happy when I looked it up. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I know John Witherspoon is one of them. John Witherspoon is so funny to me.
Yeah, he
and
is.
also Kadeem Hardison. So
Yeah.
Kadeem Hardison plays Julius. John Witherspoon plays Silas.
Honestly, I was going to say Julius is my favorite, but Silas is up there as my favorite too because they're both so funny.
They're definitely the pure comic relief in this movie.
Like
even though there are other funny people, but
yeah, totally. And like Julius just falling apart more and more the entire movie was absolutely killing me. Silas's reaction to him falling apart is even funnier. Like
Yeah.
I just think as a duo, they're hilarious.
yeah, and if you think that you don't know who John Witherspoon is, you do. Just
You do.
look him up. He's from the Friday movies. He's from the Boondocks. Like, just look him up. You know
Yeah.
him. You know him.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so I think we should just get into the movie, right?
Let's do it.
So we do start off the movie with Silas and Julius. They are chilling in a shipyard, and a rusty ship is basically crashing toward a dock.
Yeah, it's like headed right for them.
Yes. Eddie Murphy is doing a voiceover here, and he's telling the whole backstory of basically what he's going to be doing this whole movie, which I did also not pick up as a child.
No, I mean, that would be hard. I think that would be hard to pick up. And I actually appreciate when movies do this. A few of the movies we've covered over the last little while have done that. They've kind of laid out the lore at the beginning. So that way, at least as a movie goes on, you have sort of a roadmap of like where they're going or what the intentions are, especially of Eddie Murphy specifically as, what is his name in this? Maximilian?
Maximilian.
I love that his name isn't Dracula. It's Maximilian.
His name is Maximilian. He is supposed to be rich, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That is definitely a rich person's name, I think.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
When I think Maximilian, I think like they wear like gold rings and they have like Scrooge's like coin pit, you know?
I was gonna say he does do that. I don't know if he has the coin pit, but he could. He could probably put some type of trance over any area and make it look like there was one.
That would hurt, I feel like. Oh
my gosh, you would break your neck.
Scrooge, I know. Scrooge diving in like that? Oh my God.
I think Family Guy did a scene where they show what would actually happen if you dove into a money pit like that.
Big trouble.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
But if you have the money, I mean, do whatever you want, I guess.
Do it. Yeah.
So this ship is crashing toward this dock, and they're just chilling in there, right? And it's just comical right off the beginning. Like they're already establishing that they're going to be the funny characters. So the ship crashes. They get out of the way at the last second. They go to inspect. Really, it's Silas.
Because doesn't Julius like run off?
I think so.
I think he just like, yeah, I think he takes off.
Yeah, so Silas goes to inspect. Of course, he's talking shit the whole time.
The whole time. That was popping me huge.
Yeah. He does like the final girl run through the ship at one point where he starts stumbling upon all of the bodies.
Yeah.
Even though it's the beginning.
And it's done really well. It's like, and then you turn around, it's a great bit. I love it.
Just bodies falling out of everywhere. They're all, look very pale, blood drained.
And I love that he's saying ahoy.
Oh, yeah. When he walks in, he's like, ahoy there.
Like, it
ahoy there.
It cracked me up.
And then he sees this gigantic wolf. Gigantic wolf.
Huge.
Just jump over him. He sees the shadow of the wolf on the side of a building.
I actually paused it. I loved that shot that you see the wolf, but you see him so big as a shadow.
Yes.
Loved it.
And that shadow transforms into the shadow of seemingly a man.
Yes. Good old Maxi boy.
Yes. So Silas has witnessed this, okay? Then we cut to Julius. He's being kicked out of his apartment by his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Specifically for snoring during sex. That is why he's being kicked out. I did not catch that as a child, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, that's funny.
There's a lot of things that looking back on it as an adult, I appreciate so much more, of course.
For sure. And doesn't he like look across the street and he sees like a car drive up and it's like, I don't know if they're loan sharks, but he either hasn't done work for them or he owes them money or something like that, right?
Yep, he owes the money. Could be mobsters, gangsters, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, what did I call them? Loan sharks? Like it's a cartoon or something? The loan sharks.
What are they called? The people that go and get people? Bounty hunter.
Bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I don't know. We'll just call them gangsters, okay?
Yeah,
and they
whatever.
start roughing up Julius, and they're about to kill him, it looks like. And then Maximilian shows up.
Yes, he does.
With his accent immediately. Also, can I just say, it was kind of weird and surreal to see a vampire with the vampire fangs that also has a gap in their teeth. I say that as a person who has a gap in their front teeth. I was like, represent Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. I get you.
It was cute.
Get you. That I didn't even pick up on that either.
I think just because I have a gap, I notice when other people do.
That makes sense. I love your gap.
Thanks.
I think it's like just so cute.
I love it. It's never bothered me.
It's so you.
If you're not watching the YouTube video, the face I just made. Okay. So the gangsters waste no time. They shoot Max. I'm just gonna call him Max because saying Maximilian over and over is long.
Let's call him Max.
So they shoot Max. He does like the Nosferatu rise up off the ground completely straight.
I love it.
And he has so many one-liners in this movie.
Like so many good zingers, man.
Yeah. And he ends up, long story short, ripping one of the gangsters' hearts out. Reaches through his chest, rips his heart out. I think he says, "You got to put a little heart in it." Something like that.
And then the guy, that his name is Anthony, one of the gangsters, he goes, "Ouch."
Yeah. One is Anthony and one is Tony.
One is Tony and Anthony. I don't know why. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah. And so I'm like, why is he saving Julius? So he must have noticed something in Julius. He tells Julius, because of course Julius is running at this point. He's also terrified at what he just saw.
For sure, yeah.
Because he rips the one guy's heart out. He attacks the other one. He goes and gets Julius and he tells him, "You're a liar, a thief, and a cheat." Apparently that's what he likes about him.
Yeah.
He wants to make Julius his ghoul.
His ghoul. I know, as soon as he started talking to him, I think it was Jesse turned and looked at me and he's like, I feel like that's going to be like his, what's the little dude from Dracula? His like little like
Igor?
sidekick.
Wait, that's not the...
That's Frankenstein. I can't remember what his name is, but Dracula has like a minion. And I guess like that was Jesse said. He's like, that's got to be like the minion.
The minion, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I wrote, like ghoul/minion.
Minion.
But he does say ghoul in this movie.
Ghoul. He says ghoul. Yeah.
So he makes Julius drink his blood to turn him into a ghoul. His little sidekick.
Yes, exactly. And he also does tell Julius that he's looking for his like lover. He's looking for this gal that she doesn't know she's half vampire, but she's in Brooklyn, and he's looking for her.
It's kind of what he started to say in the very beginning of the movie, but now he really solidifies it. She's one of a kind. She's the only one like her in the world. Half vampire chick somewhere in Brooklyn, of all places.
In Brooklyn, and we're introduced to Rita.
Rita Angela Bassett.
She's our gal. She's also a cop.
Yes, a detective.
A detective. I got the impression that she's a rookie detective.
I did too.
Okay. Because it seemed like the way that they talked to her, it seemed like she was inexperienced as a detective.
Yeah, immediately we meet Detective Justice and Detective Rita, as you mentioned. And yes, Justice is talking to maybe like their sergeant or something. I don't know the rankings. And they're kind of discussing Rita. Like, you think she's going to be okay? I don't know.
Yeah.
We find out that Rita's mother had passed away in an institution, it sounds like. So that's,
That's important.
Little foreshadowing there.
Yeah, that's a little nugget for her, like her backstory for sure.
Yeah.
And some of the reasons why she feels the way that she does.
Yes.
In certain situations.
And so Rita and Justice are going to this shipyard to check out the scene that just happened.
Right.
So Max's coffin is on this boat. So he and Julius are also at the scene and they're trying to get this coffin. And at one point he stares into this police dog's eyes.
Yeah.
Even though it's sad, I know you hate when animals die.
I hated it.
But it's so comical the way it's done. He stares into this dog's eyes and he's like, "Jump." And then the dog just looks like it got strapped to a rocket. It just shoots through the air and into the water. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, way to not draw attention to yourself.
I know, like it was funny, but I did feel bad.
Yeah.
I felt bad, but what made up for it was Silas like losing his mind and calling Max like a wolf man or something. What was he calling him? I wrote it down. He when the cops are asking Silas about what he saw on the ship, and he's calling Max a wolf man.
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny.
Wolfman.
The wolf man. Yeah.
So Rita's going to explore the ship while Justice and the sergeant are like talking shit about her basically. And she falls through the floor and right into the room where the coffin is. Like, what a coincidence. She opens it. She sees herself. I love how they did this throughout the movie. It's such a creepy concept to think about. Just imagine seeing yourself just through a window.
No, it would terrify me.
We're actually covering a few movies like that in this loop. Cannot wait.
I know, me too.
So she sees herself, that version of herself, like tries to bite her.
Okay, do you know what's so funny? I didn't even realize that was her. I thought it was another vampire that tried to bite her.
Oh, really?
Until just now as we were saying it, and I'm like nodding along. I'm like,
totally got that. Yeah, if you go back and look, it's her basically with no makeup on.
Oh my, okay.
But she doesn't wear that much makeup in the movie anyway. I noticed this is such a random.
She's so naturally fucking gorgeous.
And I noticed that they always had like red eyeshadow on her, like under her eyes or on top of her eyelids, and then like a light red lipstick. I don't know. I like makeup, so I just noticed that.
Yeah, no, I know. She's such a beauty, man.
She really is. To this
Great
day.
actress too, man. Shit.
Yeah. So she freaks out. Max sees her. He's like circling. He's coming around the corner and he's going to attack whoever it is. Fangs are starting to come out. And then he sees that it's her and immediately knows it's her because he literally says, "It's you."
Yeah, I think there's definitely some kind of connection there. Like he can sense where she is. Because I think he even says in the beginning that he knows she's in Brooklyn because he can like sense that she's here.
Yeah.
And I think he, as we see as the movie goes on, she is drawn to him in a way, but not enough to not have her own agency over herself.
Yeah, she's using logic, but something is definitely drawing her to him.
Like pulling her. Yeah.
Yeah. So Rita freaks out, of course. She hears him. She sees something. She freaks out. She goes and gets Justice, brings him back to see, and the coffin is gone.
Yes. And now she's questioning it. Well, she might be starting to question her own sanity because her mother had a history of mental health issues.
Yes. And this is not helping Justice's perception of her because he and the sergeant were kind of questioning, like, is she okay? Is this a generational thing that's, whatever happened to her mother, is that going to happen to her?
Right.
So she's also questioning that herself, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
They notice before they leave that there is a human ear on the ground.
Yeah, that was so gross.
So disgusting. And we immediately cut to Julius, the ghoul, who is missing an ear. And this is another thing I did not pick up. So they're basically...
I'm sorry. One of my favorite scenes is coming up when he's waxing his car. And Silas sees him.
Oh.
I was like crying laughing.
That's my favorite duo, Silas and Julius.
They're the best.
Yeah.
I would watch a movie of all just them.
Yeah. So another thing I did not pick up as a kid, they're kind of Max is making Julius like drag his coffin up these apartment stairs in Brooklyn, and Julius is complaining about the ear, and he's like, "What am I supposed to be in, the Monster Union, the Blue Cross?" And that pisses off Max, and he's like, I don't know if he hisses at him or something, and then Julius is like, Blue Shield, and I would have never picked up because he said cross.
Yeah, I would have never got that either.
I was like, oh. Anyway,
I would not have got that even a little bit. No,
just little corny shit like that throughout the movie, but I enjoy it.
Me too.
So Max pays off Silas, who is also Julius's landlord.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't really clear why they were in the shipyard in the beginning, but I guess they just do multiple odd jobs.
I got the impression that, like Silas either, I don't know if he owns, I think he probably rents his apartment and then rents out a space to Julius.
Possibly.
I'm guessing, or maybe he owns the building.
He's a landlord of some type.
Yeah, he's definitely, and I think, they just work together. Because it's his nephew, aren't they? Isn't that?
Ooh, I don't remember.
I could be making this up, guys, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that Julius was Silas's nephew.
I know that Julius calls him or someone uncle throughout the movie, but also that could just be a term of endearment.
Yeah, that's
true. Some people just say, that's my cousin, that's my nephew, that's my uncle.
Right.
But either way.
Anyway.
They know each other somehow.
They're friendly with each other. They're friends.
We learn here that Max also doesn't like the sun. A lot of vampire tropes come into play here.
Yes, yep.
And
the mirror, did they mention the mirror?
Oh, he hates mirrors.
Yeah, he hates mirrors. Yeah.
Absolutely hates mirrors. So we see that. He's getting stressed out that the sun is coming up. He sees a mirror, launches Julius into the mirror. That's how much he hates them.
Poor Julius.
And Rita is going home. It seems like she's being followed through the streets by something. So we're seeing a lot of paranoia here by her.
Yeah.
But is it Max following her or is it her own paranoia?
I felt for her because that is something that is like very troubling.
Yeah.
When you think that you're like losing it.
Yeah. And also feeling like you're being followed or chased.
Oh, it's the worst.
She gets into her apartment. She's like, trying to get the elevator to open. It's not opening. Something's banging on the door. She's freaking out. The elevator door opens. She sees herself once again, but now almost, I don't know if it was on a cross or she just looks kind of crucified, like with her arms splayed out like a crucifixion.
Yeah.
And then she looks at herself, like the version of her that's crucified, opens its eyes, and Rita wakes up.
Right.
So she's having a nightmare.
She's having a nightmare, yeah.
But that specific image will come back into play.
Yeah, and also like the lore of Dracula too is like that's one of the things he does to like manipulate his victims and like the women that he keeps around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because in this movie, and we'll see more of it soon, Max, I was going to say Eddie Murphy, but Max, he obviously has the vampire power. He can hypnotize. But we also see him doing a lot of manipulative, real human shit that's like gaslighting people. He finds things out about Rita so that he can use them against her, similar to people. Similar, oh my gosh.
Similar to people.
Similar to people. I was going to say humans. We're going to leave that in.
I love it.
Okay.
No, you're right. Like he uses both manipulation tactics in the real world and also his vampirism. Vampirism,
Yeah,
right?
I'll take it.
I like it.
Just add ism at the end. It's fine.
I want to be a vampire so bad. I will straight up say it. I love vampires, and if I could be a vampire, I 100% would be a vampire.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my daylight ring right now and my daylight necklace.
And your vampire shirt and boots.
And my vampire bat boots.
You basically are a vampire.
I want... Okay, I'm going to stop saying it, because what if someone comes and bites me?
I know. You can't be a vegan vampire, so you got to think this through.
Well, I'll just eat bad people.
Oh, okay. It's fine. You're the Dexter of vampires.
That's right. AK, I like animals more than people. I just won't eat animals.
That's true. That's
right?
true.
Vigilante. Vigilante vampire BB.
Oh my gosh. This is a show. Trademarks. Don't steal it.
You better not steal our idea.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. We digress.
Julius is now undercover at the police department. He's like getting information probably about Rita.
Isn't he like a janitor or something?
He's a janitor with like a I don't know, Nickelodeon sitcom level beard and mustache strapped to his face, like a Halloween costume.
It's so good.
And we see that he's falling apart here, like literally falling apart. Okay?
Has he lost his hand? Didn't he lose his hand earlier? And Julius, I'm
It's
pretty
possible.
sure Silas says something to him about him not having a hand, and I can't remember what it is in the movie, but again, I was like crying laughing.
Either I didn't write that down or it's later, but yes, eventually he's waxing that car like you said, and his whole hand falls off.
His whole hand falls
Yeah.
off. And I love it because his sell on everything is like half shock horror and half, like, not that he expected it, but like, he like, it's weird. It's like, it must be because he's under a trance.
Yeah.
And he's like half whatever.
He's kind of accepting it too.
Yeah, he's accepting it. Yeah. Even though Max is pretty mean to him.
He is.
Throughout the movie.
It does happen here because I wrote down, we see he's falling apart, he's turning grayish, he's eating cockroaches, and his hand is randomly falling off.
Yeah, and Silas says he looks like he has the dropsies. And I didn't know what that was because when he said it stuck out because I'm like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, I didn't catch it.
So I Googled it, and dropsies is another term used for congestive heart failure, swelling of the body due to fluid in your body's tissue. I'm sorry I'm laughing. It's just that's
Obviously,
what he
that's
said.
not. Yeah, the fact that he said that, you're like, what? It's so random.
And he also, like, Silas also seems unfazed by the fact
that his hand just fell off.
Julius is physically falling apart. I'm sorry, it's so funny.
He's just like, wow, like, you don't look so good.
Yeah, and he's like, you look like you got the dropsies. I was like, what?
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we also learned here that Rita is going to have to give herself up to Max voluntarily.
Yes, he can't force her to become a vampire, and he can't force her to like fall in love with him. But he's like convinced that if he gets her to dance with him, then that's like how he's gonna like get her.
Yeah. That's some type of trance he'll be able to put on her that will convince her to say yes.
Yes. And isn't at some point, this might be the scene too, where I believe Max is explaining this to Julius, and like Julius's cell is like, he's like so over the top, and he is like basically saying like, yeah, you're gonna hook up, it's gonna be great. Like he's like putting over this thing, and Max's cell, like Eddie Murphy's cell, like he just has no time for it. He's just like, shut up, you fucking moron.
He says here, I actually wrote down what he said because I wanted to remember to mention it. This, I think, is one of the parts with the accent where I'm like, I don't know, it's hard to justify this. But he tells him, yes, he gets so fed up of Julius's shit. And he's like, I forget exactly how he says this part. It's something like, his accent is what I'm trying to replicate. He's like, shut the fuck up. And then he's like, God damn it. I'm like
he's leaning into his being Dracula.
It sounds like Dracula to me more than it does whatever Caribbean accent he's trying to do.
Okay.
But the God damn it. I think my friend and I used to say that all the time with that inflection.
I love it.
So Rita and Justice are following leads and they end up at a club.
Right. Yes. You're at the bar.
We do learn that Rita's dad was murdered in the islands, wherever the island is, before she was born.
Right.
And they meet Dr. Zako.
Yes.
As soon as he sees Rita, he recognizes that there's something in her. There's some type of connection there because he you can tell in his face that.
Is he like a voodoo doctor?
That's probably the easiest way to describe it.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out, but I was thinking like when I was watching it that he does some type of rituals or something like that.
I don't know the technical term for it, but
I don't either, and I don't want it to sound shitty. Like I'm not really sure what exactly the title would be, but he is like a doctor, and he's like a doctor of like
a spiritual guide,
like spiritual, like that kind of stuff, right? Herbal stuff, yeah.
But they call him Dr. Zako, and he tells them about all the vampire lore now.
Yeah, he knows what's up.
He knows that the vampires were on the island before. Justice is having none of it.
Yeah, he doesn't think any of it's true.
Yeah.
But Rita is a little more open to his ideas.
Yes.
But not like, she's not like fully believing it, but she's actually listening to him. And I believe he tells her to keep her faith.
Keep your faith, Rita. You will need it.
You will need it.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so she looks over and Max is in the club.
Yes, he is.
Just staring at her.
Okay, this scene is very funny.
The fact that he's just like this.
Like, if you turned and saw someone staring at you like that, like I'd find a bouncer.
Oh my gosh. And I love her reaction because she's like, do we have a problem, pal?
I loved it too. I was like, yes,
pal?
girl.
Pal is
I love pal. I love using pal. I say it all the time.
I was going to say pal is such like a middle-aged white man thing to say.
It totally is.
But here Rita says it.
Yeah, we got a problem, pal?
You got a problem, pal?
I love using the word pal.
I do.
Pally.
Pally.
Yeah.
And so he tells her there's a killer on the loose. Da 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 da. Mm-hmm. He's right behind you. Long story short.
Yeah.
It's a snake. And he saves her from it.
I couldn't figure out, okay, when I was watching it, I may have had a little of my specialty before this, but like I thought he was the snake. Like I was like, yeah, I thought.
You know what? He might have entranced the snake to act how it acted.
Okay, so that's what I'm wondering.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because at first I thought he physically was the snake.
Which could make sense.
Because sometimes vampires can transform into things.
Right.
But the trance sounds way more on point because when I realized that he then saved the snake, which I felt really bad for the snake because it's not like the snake really wanted to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, good thing he didn't kill it. He didn't kill it.
Oh, he didn't?
No, he grabs it and then the owner comes over and goes, oh my gosh, this never happened before. I'm sorry. And he takes the snake away.
I might have closed my eyes in case like
no, he doesn't kill it.
Oh, okay. I'm like, all right, then he's in my good graces.
Okay, I can watch it then. So yes, that makes so much sense too because he is setting situations up so that he can impress Rita, like we mentioned before.
Yeah.
He's using very human gaslighting, other manipulation tactics to try to make her think that they're meant to be. Oh my gosh, this is so crazy. You just saved my life.
I love that Rita is like, she's a smart girl. Like she's like
smart.
She's like listening to him. She's kind of like, oh my God, thank you so much. But then she snaps out of it.
Yes. She's being smart about it, but she is very grateful. Like that snake really did scare her.
Yeah.
And she does say like, I'm so glad that you were here.
Yes.
Because he is the one that set up the whole thing in the first place.
Oh, vampires.
But they do start flirting a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment where, he tells her, I saw you in a dream, which is such a line.
Oh, it really is. Yeah.
He asked her for a dance and she is kind of into it.
Yes.
But justice is what snaps her out of it.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And if that wasn't enough of a cock block,
Julius. Okay. Maximilian's cell while Julius is being overly obnoxious and will not shut the fuck up. Like he's looking at him like,
yeah, giving him trying to give him the Iggy. Like,
please stop.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And Julius is saying things like, do you know who this is? This is Maximilian. He gets all the girls, da da da.
Like, here's the thing. Listen, we all need a cheerleader. I tell my friends this all the time.
Yeah.
When you go out somewhere, let's say we're at an event and we're networking, it's my job as your friend when we're meeting new people to hype you up in front of the person. Tell the person your accolades. Tell them how great you are at things because you need someone to do it for you because you're not going to do it. Then you just look like an egomaniac. Yeah. You need your bestie to be like, just so you know, AK not only is she a podcast host, but she does her own Twitch. She had to, like, I would go on, right?
Yeah.
You all need that. Julius, though, he doesn't do it the right way.
Julius thinks he's being a wingman and he actually ruins it.
He does. He does, but he tries.
Immediately, Rita's like, oh, that's who you are? Okay, I wouldn't dance with you if you were the last man on earth.
Yeah.
And so
I kind of love that she, like, tells him off.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, it's going to be a little harder than that, sir. Get the fuck away from me.
I don't think so. You almost got me, though.
Yeah.
You almost got me.
Almost.
And so we cut to Justice has come into Rita's apartment for a coffee, and this is where we meet her roommate, Nikki.
Okay, Nikki, I was so thrown off. Like, I was like, who is this person? Because was she earlier? Was she in? I didn't think so.
No.
Okay.
She comes out of nowhere and she is the horniest person you've ever met in your life.
In your life. I honestly wondered how she met Nikki. I'm like, are they close friends? Did they go way back? Like, did they go to college together? Like, who is Nikki in her life?
We don't learn much about Nikki.
We don't, but she is into Justice.
Immediately into Justice. And
we find out that Rita is also into Justice, and Justice is into Rita.
Yes, but it's still very subtle there.
Yes.
But Nikki is not subtle at all.
Not even a little bit.
She's like, oh, who is this? And then Justice is like, I'm actually going to go. I don't need the coffee. We see Max is creeping through the window, looking. He's like upside down, looking through the window. Rita goes to bed, and Justice is going to leave, but he hasn't left yet.
Yes.
So Rita thinks that he is still there. And we see a painting that Rita made, and it's basically what she saw in her dream. Nikki mentions it to Justice, like, yeah, Rita painted this. It's that image of her. Well, you can't really tell because of the illustration, but it's a woman that looks almost crucified.
Yeah.
So here, Nikki follows Justice outside. He does try to leave. She follows him to the car and is like, oh, you forgot this. That means you don't really want to leave. Immediately is like physically on him. She tries kissing his neck, which is also important to notice or to note. And he's not about it. He's like, 2 words, cold shower.
Yeah.
He actually says that.
Yeah. I was like, low-key, I hate to say proud of Justice, but I low-key was.
Because you want him and Rita to get together.
Yeah, and you can tell the way that he looks at Rita. He obviously like likes her, and I like that he didn't end up being like kind of a douche, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Nikki, like, not to shame her at all, like, get it, girl.
Right.
But also for safety, I need you to be a little more cautious because when Justice leaves, Max is there and Nikki sees him.
Like, she goes right from Justice to Max, no problem.
Immediately.
I mean, you know what? Maybe she's in, you know what? You know what stage of her cycle she's in? Listen.
Wait, don't tell me ovulation.
She's ovulating.
She's ovulating.
Listen, the world is your oyster when you're ovulating.
And your oyster is the world. Let me tell you.
Am I wrong?
No, that makes a lot of sense. That's what it is. We only see Nikki for 1 day, really, and she was 100% ovulating on that day.
And can I just tell you, for the men that are listening to the podcast, to the ladies, they understand, but the men, the week after your period, like, you are low-key invincible. You are so happy. You feel like you have all the energy in the world.
You could deadlift 5,000 pounds.
Like, for real. And also,
a lot happens.
A lot happens.
Yeah, a lot happens.
A lot happens.
I was going to say, look it up on TikTok.
You're feeling yourself. I think that's the best way to say it. Is like you're feeling yourself. It's the best. I wish I could feel like that all month long.
Figuratively and sometimes literally.
No, true.
And if you think talking about periods is gross, grow up.
Yeah, it happens.
Anyway.
I'm a blood witch.
Oh my gosh. We're going to get into that in the Patreon bonus extended portion of this. Which I don't know. We don't know exactly when this episode is going to drop.
Right.
This is the first time we don't know the exact dates everything's going to drop.
I know.
But
it's exciting.
We knew that Krampus was Christmas week, of course. The rest are kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
So it's either end of December, early January.
Yeah, we're somewhere.
Hopefully our Patreon has dropped by now.
I hope so.
If not, it's coming soon.
We digress once more. Let's go back into the movie.
So yes, for safety, girl, please don't bring him up to your apartment. But she does.
She does.
Immediately.
And I also think he tranced her pretty quickly too, right?
I don't know that he had to really hypnotize her. Based on, she immediately saw him and was like, yeah, which, okay, get it.
Yeah.
Just
be careful.
This is what could happen and what I worry about, because then Rita is in her bed. She can hear Nikki basically getting railed in the next room. Nikki's having a great time at first.
Yeah.
And Rita assumes that she is with Justice, and she says out loud, like, damn you, Justice.
Yeah.
So she's clearly upset. So
she's like jumping to conclusions a little bit here.
Yeah, but also when she went to bed, Justice was still in the apartment. So why would she think it's anyone else?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah. I would be so pissed and hurt.
Or at least uncomfortable.
Well,
even if that wasn't Justice, you're like, damn, can you like have some respect?
Yeah, like, oh my God, that happened to me in high school once. My like my friend and their girlfriend, I was like hanging out with them. They just decided to go in the other room and just started banging super loud. And I was like,
that's such a high school thing to do.
It's such a high school thing to do. And it's also like, I don't care that you're
Have some fucking decorum.
like, I don't give a shit if you're sexually active. Go get it. But why are you so loud?
Yeah, like you're trying to prove something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't think that was the case here. I think Nikki was just really into it.
Yeah, she was having a great time. So Rita clearly crushing on Justice at least a little bit. She goes outside on the balcony and she's painting angrily.
Yeah.
A train is going by and it's very loud.
Yeah.
So she does not hear Nikki's moans, basically turning into screams for help.
I loved that scene where she was painting outside.
Me too.
I thought the visual of it was really cool.
It's such a good visual. It's such a good back and forth. And what you do see, because it's not a graphic sex scene. They don't really show that.
Yeah.
They just show Rita angrily painting and crying. And then the train, there's so much chaos going on. You can hear screaming and the train is so loud. And
it's like, it's very unsettling. It's like kind of disturbing.
Yeah. You see close-ups of Nikki's face clearly in fear. There's like slashes. You don't know exactly what's happening. And then what I do think is funny is it all settles down and you see blood ooze through the keyhole of the outside of her bedroom door.
I loved that.
I loved it so much and it always stuck with me as a kid. That is what really stuck with me for some reason. As an adult, I also thought, how the fuck did that happen? How physically did that happen? But I still like it. I like the visual.
I love the visual because it's like it's creative. It could have just been dripping under the floor, but the fact that it comes out of the keyhole is like even more upsetting because what you're saying, how does that happen?
Yeah.
It makes your mind think like, did he kill her against the door?
Is he pushing her face against this
Who
door?
knows?
Yeah. Or maybe she was trying to get out. Maybe and then she, I don't
and he
know.
was like eating her.
Not in the way she wanted.
No.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
So next we go to the church. Rita is thinking about what Dr. Zako said. She doesn't want to lose her faith. And we see here that Eddie Murphy it's not the first time that he has done multiple roles.
No.
But he does have multiple roles in this movie before The Nutty Professor.
Yes.
But after, what was the other one? Coming to America is the first time he ever did the multiple roles.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Jesse pointed that out to me.
Yeah. I had to look it up because I'm like, is this the first time he did it? No, Coming to America was. So he basically he attacks Preacher Pauly in a van.
Yes.
He comes out as Max, but we see him transform then into Preacher Pauly.
I mean, this whole scene is fantastic.
Fantastic, ridiculous, all of the above.
Yeah.
And so Rita goes to Preacher Pauly just in time to ask him for guidance. This is a little bit of vampire power because of the transmutation, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
A little bit of just manipulation.
Yeah.
Because
good old fashioned manipulation.
Yeah. He's pretending to be someone and giving her bad advice. So he's telling her, I forget exactly what he's telling her because what I really focused on in my notes is what he's telling the congregation because he does get pulled to speak to everyone.
Like he can't be in a church. Okay.
Right.
So he gets them all to go outside because it's like a beautiful night.
Yes,
like,
I
that's
totally
his
forgot.
reasoning.
I forgot to write that down because he does go into the church and his hair starts
smoking and he realizes like, oh shit, I can't be in here. So he's like, oh, it's such a nice night, everybody, let's go outside. And like the energy is so chaotic.
And he's doing like the old Southern past the voice, like let Preacher Pauly.
Yeah, it's so good. And he gets them all to come outside with him. And then but when he starts preaching, did you write down what he says?
He's like, evil is good.
Yeah. And
that's the main takeaway here.
The best is that the people at first are going, oh, I don't know. But as he goes on and on, they're like,
why does it make sense?
It makes sense.
Long story short, he was saying that without evil or without good, without evil, there can be no good.
Yes,
which
that was
I
his
don't
point.
know that that's true.
I don't know about that, but he does a really good job. He's so charismatic. He's probably trancing them a little bit, but I feel like this was mostly just him being very charismatic and quick on his feet, and he manipulates this entire group.
Yeah.
And they're all, by the end of it, like they are into it.
They're like, okay. And then he starts getting them to repeat, evil is good. Yeah.
I loved it.
And then he starts outing people in the audience too, or whatever you want to call it, the congregation, which is so funny. He's like, Brother Brown was just downtown last night with a $2 hoe.
Oh my God. I wrote that in my notes too. His name is Brother Brown. I thought it was Brother Brian, but I think you're right. It was probably Brown. I don't know.
But the reason I mentioned that is because, well, first of all, it's funny. Second of all, because he also uses that to try to out Justice.
Yes.
He keeps trying to convince Rita or bring it back up whenever Rita and Justice are having a little good moment.
Yep.
He's like, oh, and Justice here. That's right. Nikki. Something, I forget what he says, but basically implying that he banged Nikki.
Yes. And Rita is so pissed.
Yeah. I think he sees them kind of looking at each other, Justice and Rita, and they're like, you know, having a little moment. And that's why he's like, Nikki, I know you.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, he's corroborating that Nikki and Justice did the deed. Why are you laughing?
Because I'm looking at my next note. I did write down one of the last things that he said. He's like, evil is good and ass is good. And if you get yourself a piece of evil ass, woo!
So good. It's so good. It's so good.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say, we then pretty quickly end up seeing Eddie Murphy's third character in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is basically an Italian gangster.
Yeah, the Italian dude. Yeah.
And I also noted here that one thing that did kind of bother me in this movie, especially because the budget was so high, is that in Max's, especially toward the end of the movie, you can see the hairline, the glue from his hairline, the little widow's peak.
Oh.
And whatever. It's not a huge deal, but I just could not stop staring at it once I noticed it.
I wonder if they did pickup shots.
It's possible. It's just one of those things that once you notice it, you cannot stop.
not notice it. Yeah.
So I probably shouldn't have even pointed it out.
No. It's good. It's good. And during this whole interaction, I know that there's the Italian man, right? He's like a gangster.
Yeah.
So before we see the Italian guy, we cut to the entire group singing like evil is good.
The whole church.
The whole church.
Yeah.
I thought I was dying.
Yeah. We also see now that Julius has a mannequin hand.
The mannequin hand.
Yeah.
So good.
Every time we see Julius in this movie, he's doing something else. He's doing something extra. He's falling apart more.
To something that tops whatever he did before.
Yeah.
He is a really good physical comedian.
He really is.
Yeah.
He is one of the highlights of this movie.
No, he is for
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Eddie Murphy gets to kill Eddie Murphy, essentially, when his Maximilian character kills the Italian gangster character and takes over his body.
I wrote he eats him.
Probably.
Max eats him.
He absorbs him somehow.
Yeah.
And then they go into this Italian restaurant where Rita and Justice are, and they're talking to some people who I assume own the restaurant, maybe other gangsters, trying to get some more leads.
Yeah.
And Eddie Murphy's character, I don't know what his name was here.
I'm not sure. I didn't have it written down.
But the Italian gangster here, he holds up the restaurant.
Yeah, he ambushes them.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Everyone, guns on the floor. This is a holdup, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He shoots the cat.
I know. Listen. See? It's sad, isn't it? When animals die in movies, AK, it's sad.
It is sad. Well, look, I'm not saying it wasn't sad before, but this cat kind of looks like Dolly. He's a white fluffy cat.
Yeah.
So I was like, and Rita, my girl, whoops his ass.
I loved it.
She throws him into a table or something, just throws him over her shoulder, and she's like, I like cats.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's my girl.
Hell yeah, Rita.
So Rita and Justice cuff him, take him downtown. And once again, Rita and Justice, they're arguing, whatever. And then they have a little moment where they're kind of, resolving their argument.
But then doesn't Max start egging them on about what happened with
he looks at Justice and goes, hey, I know you. You were at the titty bar.
Yes.
Oh, Nikki, that's what it was. She said some cop really banged her good or something like that.
What an asshole. What an asshole.
Just good old fashioned manipulation.
Oh shit. Doesn't even need to use his glamour or anything.
Yeah, I mean the fact that he, is taking over this person's entire body. But yes, he's not entrancing her to believe this.
No.
For example. So he also hypnotizes. Speaking of hypnotizing, he hypnotizes a lady that's in the police station to try to kill the cop that's taking him away so he can escape.
Yeah.
So he's out of there. He's free. Rita's walking home, and Max saves her once again from getting hit by a taxi.
I also wondered if Max wasn't Julius driving the taxi?
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Okay,
it's
maybe
very
not.
possible, but I don't know.
I was trying to figure out if Max he orchestrated the taxi.
That would make so much sense if Julius was driving. I didn't catch it, but that would make so much sense because I was just thinking that too. If maybe he didn't set that up, but I feel like he must have.
I feel like he did. I could be wrong. I could just be like,
but he
guessing.
set up every other instance, so why wouldn't he have set this one up too?
Right.
Like really, every time you're next to Rita, danger happens and you save her.
Yeah. Okay.
So he invites her to dinner. You know, they start a little small talk, whatever. She's not sure, but then he ends up convincing her with some fun vampire puns. At one point, he's like, I'd love to have you for dinner.
I love that shit, though.
I do. I really do.
Yeah.
I wrote, it's corny, but it plays out as romantic. I think in this situation, I think because the budget's so high too and the actors are so good.
100%. Yes. Yeah.
So Justice pulls up in front of Rita's house after, and he's practicing what he wants to say to her. So he's gonna like apologize. At one point, he goes off on a tangent, which he's like, "Listen," and he's just practicing different approaches. I guess
I felt like that was so relatable because anytime I have to like have like an important meeting or I'm going in for an audition or whatever, like I do the exact same thing. Like before I go in, I will be like, my brain will come up with every possible scenario and I will figure out my response to everything.
Oh my gosh, I have full-blown conversations, arguments
all the time
that play out to the end in my head.
What about in the shower? Do you ever come up with zingers in the shower?
In the shower and on road trips when you're driving by yourself in the silence.
When you're driving by yourself, the amount of like, not only that, but like promos, I could come up with all kinds of weird shit, but definitely like arguments.
Yes.
I'm like, you know what I should have said?
No, it'll be like in the future too, where I look back, I'll snap myself out of it and I'm like, why am I getting all worked up over this argument that never happened?
That didn't even happen.
I don't need to go this far in my head.
I do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Justice is practicing here and Rita comes out all dressed up. And Justice
she is like, looking smoking.
She dressed up for this date.
Oh, yeah.
And Julius shows up to pick her up in a limo.
Yeah, he's the driver.
Yeah. And Julius is just so fucking funny. So obviously Justice is like, oh, you're going to dinner. Oh, okay. Have fun, I guess. He's not happy about it. Julius, when he's getting back in the limo, he's like, thought you were going to get yourself a piece of ass tonight, huh? You better go to Blockbuster and get you a video.
He's such a shithead. I love it.
I love when shit is said under the breath in movies like that. Things that you almost don't catch, you really have to listen to. They're not really focusing on it.
Yeah, and you might not catch it. I think you pointed this out to me. It's like, and Jesse too, he loves this when like someone in a crowd will say something
in the background. Oh my gosh!
I think it was Jack Frost.
Yes,
someone said something in the background and you pointed it out. It was so funny
about the kid being tall, and someone's like, not anymore because he got his head cut off.
Yeah, so funny.
Okay, so Max has casted a spell on Julius's apartment. So when Rita walks in, she sees it as basically a mansion. Even though she just walked into the hood.
Yeah, I thought that was like really interesting that he was able to glamour the apartment.
Yeah, because she's walking up the stairs, there's graffiti everywhere. Yeah. She was like, are you sure that this is it?
Yeah.
And then she walks into the apartment, beautiful.
Yeah, and it was gorgeous. I really love things like that in movies where you're like, things aren't exactly what they appear to be.
Yes.
I love that. And I especially love it with like vampirism. I think it's like really neat.
Mm-hmm. I do wonder a lot about the logistics. Like if I saw this room as a different room, would I still be bumping into the objects that are here? Or how does that work? Does it just have to be a blank room? Or
I don't know. I think because your brain, like, I think it's like such a deep manipulation of your brain. Like you might not even feel if you bumped into things, or the things like these things that are in the room they're just different things, but they're still there.
Yeah.
So like, because I think in that apartment, it's like big and beautiful, and there's all this like, I'm sure if like if they switched it into real life, the furniture would be there. It would just be different.
That makes sense.
I don't know.
I like that logic.
Let's go with that.
So we're trying to put logic in that things that probably shouldn't have logic put into it.
Everything.
So Max, being the master manipulator that he is, when he was at the police station as the Italian guy, he noticed a replica, a little picture of a Van Gogh painting on Rita's desk. And so he got a Van Gogh replica in his mansion. And
I think he says it's real. He says it's a real Van Gogh.
Yes, right. Not a replica. The actual
one, which she is like, her jaw's on the floor.
Yes, she sees it. He doesn't even point it out. She's like, is this Van Gogh?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yes. That is not the way to win someone over.
It isn't. However, he is skilled in manipulating people.
He really is.
And like, I don't want to say it's impressive because that's twisted.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, he really does know how to get somebody interested in him without being overt.
Yeah.
Like he's like cunning about it. So it makes you think, oh, we just have things in common.
Because he's
when
planting.
Really, if it was now, what would happen nowadays is somebody would go on Instagram, they would deep dive into all of your posts, figure out what you like, and then go according to that and like kind of like sprinkle things in conversation.
People do that in real life.
Absolutely, they do.
If you do find something, I understand wanting to look into someone that of course, for safety.
Are you kidding me?
And if you, yes. And if you see something you have in common, oh, cool, we can talk about this.
Right.
But if you're pretending you like something that you don't, that is manipulative.
Exactly. And I do think people do that all the time.
Absolutely.
He's just doing it on a much larger scale.
Yeah, a much more supernatural scale.
And I don't even think he like needs the supernatural stuff. He just uses it to his advantage, but he's so smart and clever and cunning, like he doesn't really need it.
I think if Max had an Instagram, it would either be private and he would have like no posts on it anyway, or it would be so specifically curated that it would go along with whoever he is manipulating anyway.
That is so interesting. I automatically just assume he would have like luxurious, like, you know, cars and going on all these trips. And
when people say they don't have a social media, especially in like the dating scene, first of all, I understand. I hate it so much of the time. But if someone doesn't have it at all, that's sus to me.
No, but you're totally right. Like, obviously, I'm happily married, so whatever. But like, if I wasn't, I would be much more inclined to date someone that has like a picture on Instagram, like 1 or 2 pictures on Instagram, and they're from like 2012. I would like that. To me, it's like, okay, this person isn't like always on the internet.
And if they're a stranger, that's another thing. You don't have a mutual friend to vouch for this person.
Yeah.
So you don't know anything about them and you can't research it in today's world. That feels scary.
It feels scary, but I would also rather somebody that is like not really online.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean? Maybe 2012 is too far back, but like, you know, their last picture is from like 2019 and it's with like all their friends, and their profile picture is like from 5 years ago.
And they're not just on Instagram every single day.
Yes.
Like posting pictures every single day, which is funny because we do that, but it's for our job.
It's our job. Yeah, exactly. But if it wasn't, and it isn't, like, I would be more inclined and more interested in somebody like that.
I feel that.
Than someone that is like constantly posting like ab photos with like their car and like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that weird curated, like, look at me, look at my life shit.
Oh, yeah.
I hate it. I think it's gross. Anyway.
So anywho.
Getting back to it.
Justice goes to Julius's ex apartment, the one we saw in the beginning of the movie that kicked him out. And she is so happy to give him information if it means Julius is going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, Julius is in trouble? Come on in. Even though she just had a shotgun at Justice's face.
It was actually really funny. I loved her sell. Yeah.
Yeah. And now back at the apartment, the fake Max's mansion, he finally convinces Rita to dance with him.
Yes.
And it works. And he does put her in a trance.
Yeah.
So they're spinning in circles and circles. And I feel like this represented her getting put in a trance.
Yeah, like unwinding and being like sucked in.
He rips off her cross necklace, throws it across the room. She doesn't even notice. And he's trying to convince her to let him in. Figuratively and probably literally too. And they're spinning and spinning. He promises the world. He's like, do you want to taste wine you've never tasted? And she's like, yes. Do you want to do this? Yes. And finally he promises her the world. And she says, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I forget his exact verbiage, but basically she gives him permission. Like he said earlier, she has to give herself up voluntarily. She just did. And he bites her neck. Okay. Now, Justice tries to go into that apartment looking for Julius, and Silas starts instigating about seeing Rita there.
Yes.
He's like, oh, I saw your little cop friend. And basically, he's insinuating that Rita was there to hook up with Max.
I mean, he says that she left bow-legged.
Oh my gosh, that was so was so trifling that he said that.
I go, what? Oh my God.
I wrote, he's so crass about it.
Like super crass.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. At one point he's like, I'm talking bang, bang, bang.
Like it's so over the top.
Oh my gosh.
Like, oh, I loved it. It was so funny.
So Julius gets called to a scene and there's a body wrapped up in a bedsheet and it's high up in a building in a crucifix position. Just like Rita's painting. And he gets binoculars. That's how far away it is. He has to get binoculars to see it. And it's Nikki. Julius eventually finds Rita because that's the thing. They can't find Rita. She's not answering her phone. and she's passed out basically, I guess, in her apartment, right? And he goes to tell her what happened to Nikki.
Yeah.
To make sure she's okay also, and to comfort her. She's very upset about Nikki. That was her friend.
Yeah, yeah.
And this happens a lot in real life and in movies. She's upset. She's vulnerable. She does make the first move. She starts kind of kissing on Julius.
Yeah.
And he even says like, do you know what you're doing right now?
Julius or Justice?
Sorry, Justice.
Okay.
Thank you for correcting me.
For a second, I was like, did I miss something?
No. Not on Julius's decaying ass. No. On Detective Justice. Sorry about that. And she goes to bite his neck and she sees herself in the mirror. And sees that she has like the yellow eyes and the fangs, and her reflection starts to fade, and it freaks her the fuck out.
It would scare me too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she really realizes what exactly has happened to her at this point.
Do you think she hasn't fully turned into a vampire yet? Because isn't the vampires can't fully form until they feed?
That makes sense. They do actually end up saying something about that.
Okay.
They have to stop Rita from feeding because then she's fully gone.
Yeah, that is definitely real vampire lore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She goes back to Max's apartment. She's obviously pissed and terrified and confused. She's like, what did you do to me? He says, I gave you everything you asked for. She's like, I did not ask for this, which she definitely didn't. He just took a yes and was like, sounds good to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I didn't lay out everything that was going to entail. That's also manipulation.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So she puts together that he's behind all the murders now.
Right.
Which we already knew, but now she's putting it all together. And she tries running away, but he's following her and he's explaining to her how she's not a normal person.
Yeah.
You know, all your life you wondered why you never caught a cold. You never broke a bone, which is also wild to think about.
Imagine like
never catching a cold.
I was just going to say never catching a cold. Whew.
I think there are people out there who have never broken bones. Good for you.
I mean, I didn't break a bone until 2015. So yeah.
Thanks, wrestling. Actually, my first bone break was because of baseball.
Oh.
I just realized that.
Collarbone?
I broke my collarbone playing baseball, not softball. Baseball.
Oof, that's scary.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's
baseball?
not supposed to be a full contact sport, but maybe I'll tell that story on the Patreon too.
Yeah.
So he tells her that, that's what it was. She's really not having it until he says, your father sent me to you. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And he tells her that humans killed her father. She doesn't know what happened to her father at this point.
Yeah.
Humans killed her father, and that her father had sacrificed himself so that her mother could survive. And that's what drove her mother, quote unquote, insane.
I definitely missed that. Absolutely.
He says all this chunk in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, I definitely missed that part.
Yeah. If you missed the line, you missed the whole thing.
Whoops.
And so she's like, I don't want this. And he's like, but what if you do? And starts flying off the end of the building. I love her reaction to this so much because she not only starts screaming, but she starts reaching for him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a weird reaction, but if you think about it, that feels realistic.
Yeah.
Because you're startled and you don't know what's happening. You think they're falling. You go to grab them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because she obviously doesn't like him, but she screams and scrambles to grab him before he falls off the edge, but then he just starts flying up in the air.
Well, and also he's her master because
That's
he bit
true.
her. So I think on some level she's attached to him now.
That's very possible.
My guess.
Yeah, it's possible. Even though she's not a full vampire, that's possible. It just felt like a human reaction to
Sure.
try to grab someone before they fall.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And so Justice goes to Dr. Zako with Rita's last painting, which depicts what appears to be her kissing Max. That's what it looks like it could be from our perspective. They don't know what it is though, but he knows that one of her paintings just came true, and that's the one that he finds in her apartment now. So what to make of this?
Right.
So Dr. Zako tells Justice they have to save her before she loses her humanity and feeds.
Don't feed, you must feed.
And she's resisting it. Rita needs to eat, but she is resisting it. She doesn't want this life.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Max is telling Rita, you have to feed or you're going to die. And she's like, I want to die. I don't care. But,
Yeah.
but she's also hungry and her instincts are kicking in.
Yeah, that's the trouble of being a vampire. You need to eat.
That's the hard part. Trust us.
That's what happened with Michael
Oh, yeah.
in The Lost Boys. He didn't want to feed.
Yeah. But then you're withering away and it's painful.
It happens to a lot of vampires.
We feel for you, vampires.
We do.
So meanwhile, Max is telling Rita, I already said that. So Max kills a woman walking in the park. He attacks her. I think her dog gets away. I think.
Yeah, because he wants her to feed on the woman.
Yes, and she almost does. She looks tempted, but then she screams and runs away.
It's like when you see a really good thick ass like pizza slice and you're like about to eat it and then you're like, oh no, I can't do that right now. It's not cheat day.
It's
no, I
just
shouldn't
too
say
heavy.
That,
The dairy's too heavy for me right now.
I wish. I do miss pizza. I won't lie to you.
But you can have vegan pizza.
Yeah, vegan pizza is really good, but like, let's be real here. Like, real cheese is pretty gosh darn good.
I do like it.
Haven't had it in like 10, 12 years, so miss it a little bit. Anyway.
Shout out to stuffed crust. Don't be a hater.
I was literally...
Do you like stuffed crust?
Dude, I was just about to say stuffed crust, and the only reason I didn't was because I was like, oh, not a lot of people like stuffed crust.
So many people hate on stuffed crust.
It is so good. I miss it. I think about it. I dream about it.
You can absolutely have vegan stuffed crust. I know it won't exactly be the same, but there are people out there who straight up are like, stuffed crust, that's trash.
What?
Excuse me? You don't want more cheese?
Like, are you crazy? Like, the best is... First of all, I love crust, okay?
Yeah.
I put maple syrup on my crust, and it's bomb. If we get done today and we're really like jonesing for something good, we could absolutely do some pizza with some maple syrup on the crust.
Let's do it.
But I want to say really quickly, now you've inspired me to attempt to make stuffed crust pizza because I bet you I could use vegan string cheese.
Sure could.
And put it in the dough.
That gasp.
The realization. Okay, anywho,
So excited.
Yeah.
Okay. So Rita's very tempted. She ultimately refuses. She runs away. Julius is full ghoul at this point. Like, he is decayed.
I wrote on my sheet, Julius looks fucking insane.
He looks like I mean, decayed is the only way I can say it.
Yes.
And insane. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So back at the apartment, Rita is about to feed on Silas. Silas comes up and he's like, hey, you don't look so good. I don't know what he says she has in that moment. But Rita is really tempted to bite him. And then Justice comes in.
Yeah.
Julius is there. Julius starts busting out his karate moves to fight Justice.
So funny.
And of
God
course,
bless him.
he is like the typical like heel 101, like he's fucking himself over, where he runs at Julius. Julius like moves out of the way.
Yeah.
I hope I'm saying the right names here. Detective Justice moves out of the way. Julius like falls into a wall or table or whatever.
Yeah.
His eyeball falls out, rolls away. It's just very comical.
This is great. Doesn't he go looking for his eyeball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Justice steps on it by accident.
Yeah. He's like, no, not my eyeball.
Yeah. So now Justice and Max start fighting. There's a whole fight scene. Dr. Zako impales Max. And I love this quote. This is another one that for some reason stuck out to me as a kid.
Yeah.
He impales him through the stomach and it affects him. It affects Max for a second. And he looks up at Dr. Zako and he's like, this is my stomach. This is my heart. This is my stomach. This is my heart.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I loved it too because when he got stabbed through the stomach, I immediately was like, yeah, but you got to stab him in the heart.
And they call that out. Mm-hmm. I love that they did that. Like, there's a mistake made and they're gonna let you know it was a mistake.
Yeah, I loved that. I've seen it in other vampire like shows or movies where they miss the heart and the vampire will just be like, you missed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Love it.
Justice eventually finds Max's coffin because, you know, Max has escaped at this point. They're running around this mansion or whatever. Justice finds the coffin. He opens it to kill Max. He thinks Max is going to be inside there, but Rita is in there. Mm-hmm. So he has like the stake ready to go. Rita's inside. She transforms too. So basically there's like levels to this vampire. Okay.
Yeah.
We saw it earlier a little bit in Eddie Murphy's version. This is the part that I thought was scary as a child, because if you look at the cover or look at any pictures, really, you're going to see Max as basically Eddie Murphy with fangs and like slick back hair.
Yes.
When he starts to transform to like full vampire, there's full prosthetics on his face.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
And it's like sharp edges and
it's
like
neat looking.
a snarled nose. I don't really know how to explain it.
Yeah.
Of course, fangs, yellow eyes. With Rita, I said for her full transformation, basically in addition to fangs and yellow eyes, she has teased hair and brows.
Deep brows.
Like there's a little like that sharp, she has that snatched look, maybe a little bit of prosthetics there, I'm not sure. And then like her hair is very teased. So,
oh boy.
But yeah, Eddie Murphy looks like he has full prosthetics on his face. He looks like a demon.
A demon is a good way of describing him. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So once again, Justice and Max get into a fight. There's a huge brawl. Rita is going to feed on Justice. There's a moment where she's going to finally feed.
Right.
And Max tells her, it's your destiny. And Rita says, and yours. They share the kiss that was in her painting that came true. And she says, a part of me loves you so much. And then she impales him through the heart because she knows what's up. And she says, but the part of me must die. That part of me must die.
Yeah. That had to have been so hard for her because the pull of like being under his trance.
And that instinct of a vampire, she looks hungry.
Yeah, she really does.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I know how I am when I get hungry.
I'm getting hungry right now.
I know, thinking about it, I'm like, man.
I'm going to fuck up that pizza later. Max falls back into his coffin and basically evaporates. He kind of transforms back into the other vampire. The earlier version evaporates. The building, or at least his apartment, starts to crumble or explode. There's a big explosion out the window. Justice and Rita escape. Rita seems to be back to human now. So I think because she didn't feed, the trance is broken, right?
Well, and also she killed her sire. So once the sire's dead.
I was like, sire, ooh. Tell me all the lore.
We're going to talk vampires after, I swear.
We have to.
But yeah, I think because her sire died.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then her and Justice, I actually did write Julius for so much of this. I wrote the wrong name so much.
A lot of J's.
A lot of J's. But her and Justice finally share a kiss. Aww. And then back in the limo, Julius gets in and he's like, at least I got a limo out of this. And Silas is with him and Silas gets in the driver's seat and he's like, ooh, I've never been in a limo, whatever. There's power windows. There's power steering. This is 1995. So that's a big deal.
Sure.
I remember when I first got power windows.
Huge deal.
Huge fucking deal.
Oh, yeah.
I remember how game changing that was?
Remember when I first got heated seats, it was like my
gosh.
A remote start.
That
I never thought it would happen in my life.
Oh my gosh.
Can't live without it.
Such a game changer. And I will say that happened for me recently, like within the past 5 years. Because I had the same old car for so long. I rode that bitch into the ground.
Yeah, you had that gal for a long time.
Yeah, Florencia.
Oh, I had a Susie, my OG car. I took her all over the Indies for years.
Yes.
Little Sue, man.
Oh, Little Sue. Was I ever in Little Sue?
You weren't. No.
Damn it. Okay.
You were in Buffy. Buffy was the silver one.
Buffy, you were in Florencia for sure.
Oh, I was for sure. Yeah.
So anyway, Julius finds Max's ring in the back seat. He puts it on and he transforms into a fully intact, sharp-ass looking vampire.
I loved that for him.
I did too.
I thought it was like, at least he's getting like a happy ending.
Yeah, because he's a little ghoul the whole time and he's doing bad things, but he's in a trance.
And also like, he's weirdly endearing.
He is, because he's so funny.
He is really funny, and like he does have good intentions.
I think so.
They're just misplaced a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of it's not his fault because the vampire.
He's under the trance.
You also feel bad for him because he's literally falling apart.
I mean, the mannequin was like, I was like, okay, that's resourceful.
Yeah.
I get it, Julius.
Yeah.
You know?
But that is the end of Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yay.
When I remembered that this was a movie that could fall in the horror category, I hadn't seen it in a long time, it's a childhood favorite. And when you said you hadn't seen it, I was like, this is one that I actually feel confident recommending because look, I'm going to be real. It doesn't have great reviews on the internet, but the internet can be whatever. You got to see it for yourself. I still think this is a good fucking movie.
I loved it. And like, here's the thing about the internet. Okay, everybody has an opinion and that's fine, but do me a solid, okay? All you listeners, viewers, judge things by your own opinions. Like watch something for yourself and then come up with your own opinion on it. Don't just listen to what other people say.
Yeah.
Because you're missing out on things that you might actually fall in love with.
Yeah. And if there's a valid reason for you not to watch it based on things you've heard, sure. But yeah, if people are just like, it sucked.
Yeah, like, no, take a chance. Check it out.
And whenever anyone tells me, oh, that sucked, I'm like, why?
Yeah, I want to know why.
The first question is why?
Yeah, because what I like and what you like might be different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved this movie. I'm so glad that you recommended it.
I'm so glad.
It was so fun. I loved Eddie Murphy in it. I don't think I told you. I was like weirdly obsessed with the movie Dr. Dolittle from the 90s, and Eddie Murphy's in it.
Yeah.
I watched that movie. Well, you know, I love animals.
Yeah.
And he could talk to them. I watched that movie all the time.
That movie was made for you.
No, it really was. And he's so good in it.
Yeah. I think I also read that Eddie Murphy agreed to do this movie just so that they would release the rights to Nutty Professor for him.
Yeah, exactly.
He basically, it was like, finish your contract with us and we'll release the rights. So he's like, all right, I'll make this movie.
Yep.
But John Witherspoon and also Kadeem Hardison, who played Julius, said that they loved this movie. It was one of their favorite roles.
It was one of their favorite roles. Yeah, I saw that too.
I love that.
I know. I think that makes me like, it makes me love it even more. It makes me like, I love hearing when, you know it was a good set.
Yeah.
When it was like a fun set with good crew, good cast, when the director's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's really, it's special.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that I watched it. And I'm glad we covered it.
Me too.
I love vampires. We need to cover more vampire movies.
Yeah.
Because we did the live of The Lost Boys, but we never officially covered it.
That's true.
It's one of my favorite movies.
We never covered that. Also, I've never seen Buffy the series, but I have seen Buffy the movie.
I love the movie, and you know the obsession I have with the series. Yeah. We should cover it at some point. Why not? Maybe we could do it as a special bonus episode.
Maybe we'll have a whole vampire loop.
Have you ever seen Near Dark?
I don't think so.
It is up there as one of my favorite vampire movies of all time.
Wow.
It is so good. Bill Paxton's in it. It's dark. The vampires are aggressive in it. I really like mean vampires.
I love when a movie, I don't know, I guess I'm not sure because it can change based on the context, but sometimes I love when they make their own rules.
Yeah.
When they add just a little bit of their own touch to the vampire lore.
Oh, I love it too.
But I also do love, like in this movie, in Vampire in Brooklyn, how they use so much of the traditional lore as well.
Yeah, because I think every rendition, like you say, it brings something to the table, something maybe a little bit different. But I think like it adds, because if you think about it over the years, the vampire lore has expanded from what it once was. Yeah. And I think it's neat that you kind of like maybe come up with your own thing and then take from here and take from there. Yeah. And, you know, because it's fantasy. I wish it wasn't.
Be careful what you wish for.
No. Wouldn't it be so cool?
I don't know. It depends on where I'm at in that world.
I guess. But imagine there were werewolves and vampires.
No, that sounds way worse.
Oh,
werewolves, absolutely the fuck not.
I think it would be cool.
Well, if you have not seen Vampire in Brooklyn, please give it a shot. Just give it a try.
Yeah,
give
try
it a chance.
It's fun. It's a good one. You can watch it on Pluto.
Watch it on Pluto for free with ads, but still it's free, so you can't really be that mad at the ads.
Exactly. And if you want to watch something else, you could watch the podcast on YouTube because we do post full episodes.
Yes.
Every Monday, they go live at noon Eastern. They're set as premieres, so we can go in and like go into the chat with you guys. Mm-hmm. It's really neat to watch everybody kind of like talking while they're watching.
Yeah. Follow us on our social media at Chainsaw Girls Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook.
Yeah.
You can send us an email.
chainsawgirlspod@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts, requests, whatever. We want to hear it. We want to see it.
Stay a little bit longer after this episode or whenever we're able to put it up because we don't know when this is releasing for an extended version of the episode on Patreon.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.